All right, in this video, we're going to take a look at arithmetic sequences and series. So we're going to look at when you have a series of number, you can actually find the sum of that series using a special formula. So make sure you put today's date. In the upper right-hand corner of your notes. So a series is just the sum of a sequence. And there's a formula that we use to find the sum of a sequence. It's called the sum So to find the sum of a sequence, we use this formula where n is the number of terms. A sub 1 should be familiar, that should be the first term. And then a sub n is your last term. So if you know the first term and the last term and the number of terms in your series, you can use this formula to calculate the sum. So let's look at some quick examples. Let's say I gave you the series of the first set of even numbers. So 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the first 6 even numbers on our number line. So if I was looking for the sum of that series, I could do it by hand and add 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12. So 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 6 is 12, plus 8 is 20, plus 10 is 30, and then plus 12 is 42. So the sum of this is 42. I could do that faster though using this formula where I could find the sum of this using this information. So the n is the number of terms. So in this problem we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. N is your number of terms. A sub 1 is your first term, so in this case it's 2. And then a sub n is your last term, and in this case the last term is 12. So plugging it into that formula that I have above, I would have 6 times 2 plus 12 divided by 2. So 2 plus 12 is 14. So I have 6 times 14 divided by 2, or 6 times 7, which gives me 42. So in either case, I found the sum of all of these numbers. You could do it by longhand, or you can use the formula and figure out the sum of those numbers. So the problems you're going to see for homework and possibly on exams are going to be a little bit more complicated in that you might have to do some work to figure out some of the problems. So for example, let's say you were given the following information and you had to use the formula. A sub 1, remember your first term is 20. A sub n, your last term is 292. And n, the number of terms, is 35. So with this information, I could find the sum from 20 to 292 in this sequence. So using the formula, we have the sum, S sub n, equals the number of terms, 35, times the first term plus the last term divided by 2. So 20 plus 292 is 312. So I have 35 times 312 divided by 2. 312 divided by 2 is 156. So I have 35 times 156. And when you multiply those, you get 5,460. So the sum of all the numbers between 20 to 292 in this sequence from 1 to 35 is 5,460. So you'll either be given problems where you have to find the sum just given the list of the sequence. You'll have to find the sum of the series given the first term and the last term and how many terms are in the sequence. And the last type of problems you'll see are when you're given the first term, you're given the number of terms, but you don't know the last term. So what that's going to look like is you're going to have a sub 1 is given to you. In this case, it's negative 13. Your n value is also given to you. There's 13 terms in this sequence. But this time what they're telling you is that they're giving you the d value. So remember what d stands for is what you're adding or changing each time between the numbers in the sequence. So for this problem, you have to use two formulas. We have to first set up and figure out what is the last term in the sequence, the 13th term. So a sub 13 equals, and you're going to go back to your old formula, negative 10 times n minus 1 plus your first term. So remember our original formula that we worked on last week, a little bit this week, was that could tell you the term of any number in a sequence. And so I'm just plugging this information in that I have. The 13th term equals the change, the common difference, times n minus 1 plus the first term. And now since I'm looking for the 13th term, I just plug in negative 10, and then 13 for n, plus negative 13. I can just subtract this now. So I've got negative 10 times 12 plus negative 13. This gives me negative 120 minus 13, so negative 133. So the 13th term in the sequence is negative 133. But since the question's asked for the sum, we now have to use this number in our formula for the sum. So it's the number of terms, 13, times the first term plus the last term, which we just calculated, divided by 2. So negative 13 plus negative 133 is negative 146 divided by 2. Negative 146 divided by 2 is 73, negative 73. And then you can multiply those. So 13 times negative 73 is negative 949. And that's finding the series, the sum of a series, which is the sequence of numbers in a list. So you should be ready to try practice number 3 on series.